Hey, what's up, you all? Me, Miles here. Today, you will find out why I don't follow Dave Ramsey, regardless of his good advice. You're probably thinking, what's wrong with Miles? I mean, Dave's advice has really helped me. But now he's not doing that. Damn, what's wrong with Miles? I want to make it very clear that I have the utmost respect for him as he helped many people that were financially struggling. Dave and I have almost the same interests, such as finance, real estate, and investing, but we are totally different in how we practice our beliefs about personal finance and investing. Again, we share almost similar interests and a bit of a niche. It's my intention with this video to help you understand the difference between me and Dave. Afterward, you might reconsider watching him, whatever his philosophy is. In this video, I want us to understand more about his motives and why he gives financial advice. What made him do that? That is what we would like to know. Let's get ready, guys. And of course, before watching this video, be sure to enjoy, comment, and subscribe. Once you subscribe, you'll be notified whenever I post another video, so that way you'll be able to keep up with what I'm up to. As I begin this video, I want to explain a bit about Dave and why he began lecturing on personal finance. Okay, in the 1980s, when he was about 18 years old, he became interested in real estate. That's what led him to become a real estate agent and developer. At that time, his real estate portfolio had grown by more than $4 million. It is important to remember that some changes in financial laws took place during the 1980s, such as the Competitive Equality Banking Act of 1987 and the Tax Reform Act of 1986. At that time, when the changes were implemented, some banks had to make changes according to the laws. Therefore, a bank told Dave to pay back the money he owed from his leveraged real estate portfolio. This was whenever he hoped that he could leverage against a property that would increase in value and then earn rental income. This was his goal when he was a young real estate developer that eventually ended up putting him $1,200,000 in debt. The bank ordered him to pay back. He had no choice but to pay back. It was a lot, and decided to file bankruptcy. This really changed his outlook on life. And you know, when Dave went bankrupt, he would have to qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Did you know that? During that process, it is possible to keep your assets even if you ever go bankrupt. However, the process will harm your credit score and erase your credit history. Like everything starts over. Though you still can keep your assets. If you have owed money on your assets, you don't own all of them. Some are split between you and your bank. And what's left, you own it all, your equity. After his bankruptcy, he learned a big lesson, and he became a financial coach at his local church, helping people who struggled with paying off debt. That was where it led to who he is now, a financial coach at his own company, the Ramsey Solutions, which I'm pretty sure many of you already know. Okay, enough with his background. Now I'm going to tell you why I don't like him. His thoughts on debt are, A. He says all debt is bad. Well, I understand what he meant. He meant the debt, which you're obligated to pay back to the bank. There is a quote that he always repeated, borrowing money from a bank, you're a slave to the bank. I understand that. But all debt is not necessarily harmful. I explained in a few previous videos that debt could be a benefit if you use it to invest in assets. The interest rate is lower than the return on assets. There's a possibility that it is converting from bad debt to good debt. So, you don't want to think all debt is bad. Like what Dave told his audience. I'm like, what? So basically, Dave isn't focused on building wealth, but rather on paying off debt. I see nothing wrong with that. Furthermore, I recognize that if you take a closer look at his audience, you will notice that most of them have a financially secure, less risky, and simpler mindset. such as those in the working class. They follow Dave's advice, trying to pay off their debts. We all know that many middle-class people take out loans to go to college, take out car loans, and spend a great deal on consumer debt. Their debt is increasing. That is how they ended up not knowing what to do. As a result, they seek Dave's advice and trust it will help. I don't blame those working class people for trying to pay off and get rid of their debt. I totally get it. I think Dave's advice on them is spot on. But for me and all of you, we want to take more risks and aim to grow our wealth. That's what I'm focusing on. And we have strong and well-ready mindset. Not simple and relaxing. We are ready to take risks. One thing I would add is that most of his advice is outdated. Because you remember I explained that he got financially screwed up in the 1980s and then turned to local churches. It was happening 30 to 40 years ago. During that time, it was when there were some changes in financial law and interest rates went up in the 1980s. Therefore, his philosophy of saving money was very successful in those days, but not in the present days because of inflation and low interest rates. Nowadays, his philosophy does not fit very well. Now, I want us to take a look at his methods. His first method, the debt snowball, is the most popular of all. Another approach that is also popular is 7 baby steps. It's time to get curious, and I will share my thoughts on them. Follow along. Guys, you can see the screen right there. It shows the 7 baby steps. You get the idea of it. I will explain the debt snowball after that. Okay. The first step is to save your first $1,000 straight into an emergency fund. I'm curious about it. Whoa, only 36% of Americans can afford a $400 emergency. 64% of Americans borrow money. I don't blame Dave for that idea. He's encouraging people not to use debt for an emergency fund because the emergency fund can't really make money for you. It's obviously a liability, not an asset. That makes pretty much sense. And one thing, you can use credit card for an emergency, but if you can pay it back as soon as possible. But you see, the problem is most Americans do not actually have money ready to pay to credit. That's why his advice is perfect for the working class. Oh, now you can see the debt snowball method. I'm going to explain it to you all now. With this method, you start off with small debt and then move on to huge debt until the debt is paid off. Imagine, let's say you have a small debt on your credit card. You want to pay it off soon and then pay bigger debt later, like a college loan or car loan. I say I like that strategy. I used that several times, and it worked well for me. Although I do not follow all of his principles, I do follow the partial concept. I just adjust it for myself. But yeah, it worked well. Like what I said earlier, some of his advice is outdated, and some work very well. As for the third step, it suggests you put away 3 minus 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund. I say his strategy. I think that strategy isn't bad either. Now, for retirement accounts, you can see that it says save 15% for a retirement account. I say it's a decent strategy. I like to keep up with 20%. The strategy is more aligned with a 401k plan. Like I said, it's perfect for working class people. I'm speaking for the working class people. Roth 401k is the best option, and you may want to go for it because your employer may have an option to match your contribution. Let's say if you contribute $600 monthly, your employer can contribute another $600 monthly. It's $1,200 in total. You can only contribute to Roth 401ks up to $19,000 or $20,000 per year. According to my understanding, it is preferable to have a Roth 401k rather than a traditional 401k. If you choose Roth 401k, you will not be taxed when you withdraw the funds later. If you go for a traditional 401k, you will have to pay tax on it later. So, The Roth 401k may be the better option. Same with some of you who don't have a match from your employer. You can opt for a Roth IRA. 15% isn't that bad, but think about 20% or 30%. Again, it depends, and you want to spend more on assets rather than liabilities. Now for this step, saving college funds for your kid in the future. I don't think it matters if you don't have a child right now. Getting back to the point, if you have children, you can set up an education savings account. It is tax-free to save money in a college savings account. And when your kid is ready to attend college, all that money will be tax-free. You will have to pay taxes if you save regularly. In the event your child wants to go to college, you can use ESA. There is also a 529 plan that you can use. There are a number of other benefits you can look into on your own. That's not something I really talk about. As for step 6, I know this is very controversial for many people because Dave advises people not to borrow a 30-year mortgage, but rather to get a 15-year mortgage. In fact, I disagree with him on this point. You may be better off choosing a 30-year mortgage since it diversifies your portfolio, resulting in a lower monthly payment. One disadvantage, however, is that you will pay more interest to the lender. As you can see, the goal of Dave is to avoid paying too much interest. As you can see, he is extremely focused on avoiding debt and getting rid of it. But for you, my audience, and me who invest in real estate, it would be better to switch to a 30-year mortgage. It diversifies our portfolio and is easier to grow equity. That makes sense. Low monthly payments allow us to buy more properties. If you are looking to buy a home that you will own for the rest of your life, a 15-year mortgage is the better option. It's pretty obvious. If you want second or third properties, get a 30-year mortgage. It mentioned adjustable rate mortgages or ARMs, and that just came to mind. You don't want to use it. You want to look for 30-year fixed interest. An ARM allows you to adjust your interest rate periodically. It's good for people who look at short-term housing or flipping houses. If you want long-term, opt for a 30-year fixed. Okay, now step 7. Build wealth and give. It can be giving to a charitable organization, like whatever you want to do with your money once you're wealthy. Remember, when your money grows, consider investing back in the country because of the possible tax advantages. In my previous video, I explained tax loopholes and strategies. So, you want to use money to invest and receive tax breaks that will save you a lot of money and pay less tax. You now have the idea of 7 baby steps, plus the debt snowball method. In all honesty, his advice seems okay, but it doesn't really work for those who want to be financially free and grow wealth. Some of you might say, how comes he has $200 million net worth? As I said, his advice is old and unsuccessful. Well, basically, he's a brilliant salesman. He sold his courses, wrote books, including 7 Baby Steps, selling his workshops, too. He earned big money from them. He even has his own radio show, which I'm sure many of you have seen. So, all of his net worth comes from those I mentioned. In reality, if he followed these 7 baby steps without selling courses, books, and workshops, his net worth would probably be around $5 to $10 million. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, he helped many people. Lastly, I would like to point out that he also earns about $15 million per year in salary that has helped him become very wealthy with a net worth of $200 million. Okay, enough with explaining about Dave. I am actually here to tell you that if you want a stable income and a simple mindset when it comes to personal finance, Dave may be your best bet. Nothing wrong with that. You are not required to stay here and watch me. I emphasize that my channel focuses on financial freedom, not financial security. If you want to be financially secure, turn to Dave. If you're motivated to grow your wealth or invest your money somewhere like real estate, you are welcome to stay and watch my channel at any time. I'm here to entertain and help you. I guess that's all. As always, feel free to leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this video between Dave and me. Like and subscribe. See you all next time soon.